You just got to have belief. You just got to believe in yourself. You know, you've got to have that fire, the passion, not an ego. There's a very, very big difference between having an ego and having belief.
Yeah.
There's a very fine line, but you know, I wouldn't consider myself to have an ego of any way, shape or form. I just believe that this is the right thing to do. I genuinely think that a estate agency needs shaking up a little bit, and what was essentially a massive gamble 6.5 years ago, it's paid off, because not only are we doing it, there are other companies now doing it as well. Obviously I'm not going to mention who they are, but you know, it's become a very vibrant marketplace with different choices, different models, different pricing structures. It's just very exciting to be part of, and all the staff that we have had join us, apart from the franchisees, that there are very strict rules. You know, you have to be an estate agent for 5 years. You know, you have to have been active in the last 2 years for us even to consider an application form. But most of the in-house staff that I have here aren't necessarily from an estate agency background. You know, they're from a sales background, or an account management background, or a digital media background. In fact, in certain respects, the hardest people to train are the ones that are almost so conditioned by working in a estate agency previously that I can't break that psychological understanding of what they think a estate agency is. Whereas what we're doing here is something very, very different to a traditional estate agent. You know, we're promoting things in a very, very different way. We actually probably speak to our clients more as a marketing consultant than an estate agent, because we talk to them about how many buyers are registered on the portals, you know, how many people are searching, what search terms are the most popular, what the conversion ratio should be about people looking at listings and then eventually having a meaningful interaction with your brochure, and actually educating them to say, look, this is a science, you know, there is a strategy to this, and if you follow the strategy you will get a result at the end of it. And it's something that I've really enjoyed working with a lot of the guys here, because we've got people from different backgrounds, different walks of life, you know, male, female, you know, you name it, and everyone has their special offering as far as the business is concerned. Is that all okay? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, so when building a team around you, it's important to focus on the skills they bring, not just their knowledge of the industry. And in fact, their knowledge of the industry can be quite limiting.
It is, yeah. It's kind of everyone's got their different management styles. Yeah. You know, you get micromanagers. You've got. I've just never been someone who really particularly likes being managed. I don't know whether that's to do with the entrepreneurial thing that you have said that I've apparently got, but I just believe that if you work with people and you don't treat them as inferior to you, they actually get a lot more done, because they think that they're on the same level.
Yes.
You know, we're trying things together. We're not just me telling you what to do. You know, I'm always welcoming new ideas and actually physically saying to people, what can we do better? You know, how can we improve the system? How can we make that challenge and, you know, embed it for the future? It's just a constant, you know, evolvement of the business. And I think they like that. I think they think they are part of something special. It's not like working at an estate agent down the road.
Yeah, so they feel quite inspired, quite empowered.
Yeah, and they make a difference. You
Yeah.
know, there is genuinely something they're doing to actually make a difference, whether that's selling someone's house or saving someone thousands of pounds.
It's having that ability to not get too involved in the detail, be clear of your vision, and be able to look down on the business sometimes and not get too distracted inside it, and remember actually what you're doing with that business. I think it's a real key thing to, you know, it's like saying if you can't steer the ship in the right direction if you're scrubbing the decks, can you? You know, and you've got to have that ability to almost take yourself outside the business sometimes and be quite clear about what you're doing and where you're going with things, and not get too involved in it. And I think it's a real key skill to be able to do that. And sometimes you need to remember that when you're involved in the day-to-day challenges that you get in business, not to get too bogged down and worried about it, and go off track, you need to think, actually, why are we here? Why are we doing this? And so I think that's a skill, is being able to remove yourself from the business, look down on it, and use the 80-20 rule, which most people are familiar with, I think.
Sounds very philosophical. Why am I here?
Yeah, well, there's a bit of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think you need to be able to multitask. If you're not very good at multitasking, then I don't really think a business is perhaps for you. And I definitely think that, again, you need to be flexible with the way that things work, to be able to adapt, because things are changing all the time and nothing is ever the same in terms of business. But I would definitely say as well things like communication skills, because you deal with a lot of different people within business. So a lot of people that are perhaps older than you, different cultural backgrounds in different countries, and you need to have those skills to be able to communicate with everyone properly, particularly as you're kind of acting as the face of the company, particularly as a small brand. So yeah, I would definitely say that those three are perhaps probably the key point.
Well, it takes a lot of traits to be successful, I think, as an entrepreneur. But I think there are three things we consider, or I consider, as a very important factor. One is the ability to set a vision, because a lot of companies takes a long time to get to success. So it's very important for the leader, for the entrepreneur, to be able to set a vision so that the company doesn't get on the wrong track. Second thing is really the passion. I think I always say, like, entrepreneur has to be the most passionate people within the organization, and the person has to be a great sales, right? Because you have to sell the idea to a team, you have to sell the idea to the investor, you have to sell the idea to a client. So the passion. If you want to have one most important personal trait, I think that's the word. The third thing is really the ability to go through difficulties. So I don't know the best word for that in English, but it's really the ability to go through hardship, to go through the obstacles. Because if you think about startup, it's all about failures. Right. So I was talking to my team, saying, like, in our life, failure is the normal life in our daily life. Basically, you have to encounter failures or difficulties every day. So most of the people would not have the consistency or capability to deal with that. Most of the business, I was reading on data, like less than. More than 97% of the business failed within 3 years. So I think the ability or the consistency or persistency to go through difficulties to get to the vision, I think that's really the third most important thing.
I think you need to have belief in what you're doing. I don't know if that's a core skill or not, but you ultimately have to believe in the product, service, whatever it is your business is going to be doing. Therefore, that shows passion. People buy off people at the end of the day, and if you're passionate about what you do, then that's going to come through no matter which way. It'll also keep you going when things get tough. I think, as I've already mentioned, tenacity, the ability to accept when things don't go right and not give up. You kind of need a bit of innovation about you. You need to be a creative mind, really. You need to be able to think around problems to find a solution. It's no good just going, oh, there's a problem, I'm just going to wash my hands of it and forget about it. It's, in the same way you have to know when to give up on things, you also need to make sure that you've exhausted every avenue and have that kind of energy to do that.
So driving ideas forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Determination, yeah.
I think maybe in different business model, we need different skill. But to start a company, I think first the founder of the company should have very good understand of the consumer. And also sometimes we need passion. If you don't have passion, you will not found the company, because to found a company is very difficult, very hard. Sometimes you will face to a lot of problems, a lot of questions you should answer, but sometimes you have no answer, and you should solve different problems. So you should have passion to your business, to your colleagues, and to your customers, and also to every area. So I think the first core skill is the passion, and the second, you should understand the industry. But sometimes in different business model, for example, if you run a business to consumer directly, for example, you run the internet company, and it's very easy to you, because you just play as a consumer. For example, if you found Facebook, you are a consumer of Facebook also. But sometimes, like me, we run a business to business. That means you should understand the industry. For example, we run business in advertising, marketing industry. In the beginning, I cannot run this business by myself, because at that time I'm only a student. I don't know anything about advertising industry. So I have a partner. He knows a lot of this industry. But after 1 or 2 years study, I know a lot. I'm professional in this, also expert in this area. So we can run. So you should, if you run a business in B2B, business to business area, you should be expert in this industry. Yeah. So sometimes the industry change a lot. You should have a very good study, self-learning skill. I think it's also very important for the entrepreneur.